Hi everyone, I am Johnny Proceso from the BSED English 1A. So now I will be discussing to you about the child language acquisition regarding on their behaviorism, nativism, social interactionism, and connectionism. So the child language acquisition refers to the process through which children learn and develop language skills. It is a fascinating area of study that has attracted the attention of psychologists and linguists for many years. One of the theories that explain how children acquire language is behaviorism. Behaviorism suggests that language learning occurs through conditioning and reinforcement. In this discussion, I will explore the behaviorist perspective on the child language acquisition and provide examples to illustrate its concepts. According to behaviorism, children acquire language through a series of stimulus-response associations. They learn to associate specific sounds with particular meanings through repeated exposure and reinforcement. For example, when a baby says mama and receives a positive response from their caregiver such as a smile or a hug, they are more likely to repeat that word in the future. This positive reinforcement strengthens the behavior between the words and its meaning. Behaviorists argue that children imitate the language they hear around them. They observe and mimic the speech patterns, vocabulary, and grammar of their caregivers. Parents and caregivers play a crucial role in providing models in correct language usage. For instance, if a child hears their parents say, "Give me the cookie," the child is likely to imitate that sentence structure and say, "Give me the toy." Furthermore, behaviorism emphasizes the importance of reinforcement in language acquisition. Children learn to use a language effectively and by receiving positive reinforcement for their correct linguistic behaviors. For example, if a child attempts to pronounce a difficult word correctly and receives praise or encouragement from their caregiver, they are more motivated to continue and practicing and refining their language skills. Behaviorists also emphasize the role of repetition and language learning. Children are exposed to words and utterances repeatedly, which helps them internalize and consolidate their knowledge. Through repetition, children develop automaticity in their language production, allowing them to speak fluently and effortlessly. In conclusion, the behaviorist perspective on a child language acquisition suggests that children learn language through conditioning by reinforcement, imitation, and repetition. By associating sounds with meanings, imitating language models, receiving positive reinforcement, and practicing through repetition, children gradually acquire the ability to comprehend and produce language. However, it is important to note that behaviorism has been supplemented by other theories to provide a more comprehensive understanding of a child language acquisition. These theories acknowledge the active role of the child's cognitive process and innate language capacity. Child language acquisition is a fascinating topic that explores how children acquire and develop language skills. One influential theory this era is nativism, which suggests that humans are born with an innate ability to acquire language. This theory argues that children have an innate language acquisition device that enables them to learn language effortlessly. In this discussion, I will delve into the nativist perspective on child language acquisition and provide examples to illustrate its concepts. Nativism proposes that children are biologically predisposed to acquire language and have an innate capacity to process and understand linguistic input. Noam Chomsky is a prominent linguist suggested that there are universal linguistic rules and structures that are hardwired into the human brain, forming the basis for language acquisition. For example, Chomsky proposed the existence of universal grammar as a set of innate linguistic principles that underlie all human languages. Nativists argue that children are able to generate and understand an infinite number of sentences, even ones they have never heard before. They do this by employing their innate knowledge of language rules to create grammatically correct sentences. For instance, a child who has never heard the sentence, "The dogs are barking loudly," can still produce it because they possess the innate ability to understand and apply grammatical rules. Another characteristic of nativist perspective is the critical period hypothesis. According to this hypothesis, there is a critical period in early childhood during which language acquisition must occur for optimal development. After this period, language acquisition becomes more challenging. For example, individuals who are not exposed to language during their early years, such as feral children, often struggles to develop linguistic skills later in life. Furthermore, nativists argue that errors made by children during language acquisition are not merely the result of imitation or reinforcement, but arise from the child's active process of hypothesis testing. Children generate hypotheses about the grammatical rules of their language and modify them based on the feedback they receive from the environment. This process allows children to acquire language rapidly and creatively. In conclusion, the nativist perspective on the child language acquisition propose the children process in innate language acquisition device that allows them to acquire language effortlessly. This innate capacity enables the children to generate and understand infinite number of sentences and construct grammatically correct utterances. However, it is important to note that nativism does not disregard the impact of social and environmental factors of language development. Instead, it emphasizes the role of innate knowledge and universal grammatical principle in language acquisition. Language acquisition is a fascinating field of study that has been a topic of interest for researchers from various theoretical perspectives, and one prominent theory is social interactionism, which emphasizes the role of social interaction and communication in language development. In this discussion, I will explore the social interactionist perspective on the child language acquisition and provide examples, discuss the key concepts associated with this theory. Social interactionism posits that language development is strongly influenced by social interactions and communication and others. According to this theory, children learn language through their interactions with caregivers, the process where children actively engage in communication and jointly construct meaning with others. One key concept, social interactionism, it is the idea of zone proximal development introduced by renowned psychologist Lev Vygotsky. The CPD refers to the range of tasks that a child can perform with the assistance of a more capable individual, typically an adult or a more advanced peer. Through interactions with their CPD, children are able to acquire language skills that are just beyond their current level of development. Like, for example, a child may learn new vocabulary, words, or sentence structures by engaging in conversations with a parent or a teacher. Another important aspect of social interactionism is the notion of scaffolding. Scaffolding refers to the support provided by more knowledgeable individuals to help a child progress in their language development. This support can take the form of modeling, where the caregiver or teacher demonstrates proper language usage or through verbal prompts and cues. For instance, a parent might say, "Look at the dog. Can you say dog?" To prompt a child to produce a new word. Furthermore, social interactionism emphasizes the importance of joint attention, which is the ability to focus on the same object or event with another person. Joint attention plays a crucial role in language development as it facilitates the shared understanding of language and the context in which it is used. For example, when a caregiver and a child are looking at a picture book together and discussing the pictures, they are engaging in joint attention, which helps the child make connections between words, objects, and concepts. In conclusion, the social interactionist perspective highlights the role of social interaction, communication, and collaboration in a child language acquisition. Through interactions with their CPD, children are acquire language skills that exceed their current level of scaffolding provided by more knowledgeable individuals supports children in their language learning journey. Additionally, joint attention fosters shared understanding and facilitates language comprehension and production. Understanding the social nature of language acquisition provides insight into how children learn and develop language skills. The child language acquisition is a complex process that has been studied from various theoretical perspectives, and one prominent theory is connectionism, which posits that language development occurs through the gradual strengthening of connections between different elements in the brain. In this discussion, I will explore the connectionism on a child language acquisition and provide examples to illustrate its concepts. According to the connectionism, language acquisition is the result of the brain's ability to create and strengthen connections between different neural units. Language learning is seen as a process of pattern recognition and statistical learning. For example, infants are exposed to a large amount of linguistic input and gradually identify patterns and regular repeats in the language they hear.